All right, so we're turning to football now on the SportsMax zone. The Reggae Boyz named their 26-man Copa America squad on Wednesday, with the tournament, which is to be hosted by the United States, slated to kick off on the 20th of June. That's next week, Thursday. Let's get a refresher of the squad list. So we have for the goalkeepers, Andre Blake, Kanaya Boyce-Clark, Jamali Waite, and Shaquan Davis. The defenders, Amari Bell, Damian Lowe, Dexter Lembekisa, Deshaun Bernard, Ethan Pinnock, Greg Lee, Michael Hector, John Bell, Richard King, and Wesley Hardin. In the midfield, there'll be Alex Marshall, Bobby Reed, Joel Latibede, Karoy Anderson, Casey Palmer, and Kevin Lambert. The forwards, Damari Gray, Kahim Dixon, Michael Antonio, Ronaldo Cephas, and Shamar Nicholson. Leon Bailey has remained in green because he has announced his unavailability. Well, Jamaica is drawn in Group B alongside Mexico, Ecuador, and Venezuela, and this is when and where the games will be taking place. So, on June 22nd in Houston, Texas, Jamaica will be playing Mexico. On June 26th, just a few days after, they'll be up against Ecuador in Vegas. On June 30th, they play Venezuela in Texas. Well, joining us this afternoon to give his comprehensive take on the squad, how he thinks the Reggae Boyz will fare in the competition, is our very own in-house football analyst, Leger Williams. Leger, good afternoon. Really happy you could join us on set today.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It feels like I'm not here as often as I usually am, so have to take advantage of the moments, you know.
Yeah, and I know you were at the squad reveal, which took place earlier this week. Of course, a lot of people, you know, really happy, and I was saying it to the team yesterday when we were live on the SportsMax zone, that initially everybody was so happy to see that Leon Bailey was included in the squad, only for a few moments later to recognize that he would not be suiting up, and he made an Instagram post about, you know, the information basically not being accurate.
Yeah, I know that's pretty unfortunate. As an analyst, I like to focus on the field issues. I'm not quite into the off the field stuff, you know, the ins and outs of the runnings of the JFF or the coaching staff as well. But it's always unfortunate when a high quality player, one of Jamaica's best players, is unavailable or won't be at a tournament of this magnitude. It's only the third time that Jamaica will be participating at the Copa America. So it's a big loss for the squad, but I still do think that when you speak about the level of quality and flexibility in the squad that will be going to the tournament, I still think that Jamaica has enough to perform well.
Yeah, and speaking about enough, Captain Andre Blake was also named in the squad, despite we all know it's public news that he has suffered an injury, but of course a fit Andre Blake is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I agree with you. Based on what Coach Hal Grimson was saying, is that he doubts that Andre Blake will be able to play any of the games, but it's just to have his leadership there. He's the general captain of the team, so just have him there to guide some of the younger players, because Jamaica is a very young team. That's something that I spoke to Coach Hal Grimson about at the launch on Wednesday, just how young the team was. The lineup against Dominica, for example, had an average age of 24 and a half. So Jamaica will be going into the competition with one of the younger squads at the Copa America. So it's nice to see that there are a lot of young players there, but they'll need leadership and experience to guide them. So I'm glad Andre Blake and even a player like Amari Bell will be joining the squad as well, despite them not necessarily being available to play for most of the tournament.
Yeah, you speak about, you know, a mix of youngsters as well, relying on the leadership of those players that would have done this before. The first assignment is up against Mexico. We have to put aside the injured players. We have to really put aside the players that have made themselves unavailable, and we have to deal with a team that will be suiting up for the Reggae Boyz. How do our chances look? Because, of course, based on the numbers, Jamaica has lost all 6 of their Copa America games previously. So, based on what you've seen on paper, how are we looking?
Well, I think Jamaica should have a pretty high level of confidence going into the tournament. They performed pretty well in the Nations League, defeating Canada, you know, coming really close against United States, and then winning against Panama, which are I think if you throw Mexico in that blend, those will be the 4 top teams in CONCACAF going into this calendar year. So I think Jamaica will have pretty high hopes going into the tournament. Mexico are a team that, looking on from an outsider, you would say that they're in relatively good form. They had a good performance against Brazil last week. But if you ask the Mexican media, they'll say that they're in dire straits and they're not looking forward to the tournament. It'll be interesting to see what type of Mexico team pops up. But I think Jamaica does have the capability to beat them, and I'm looking forward to that game. And, seeing the squad, we saw the squad, all 26 players. I've decided to give my take a bit on not necessarily how I would line up the team, because maybe I would have a few different ideas, but maybe a mix of my ideas and Coach Hal Grimson's ideas. So I made a graphic of what I think the predicted lineup would be for that first game against Mexico, assuming that everyone apart from Amari Bell and Andre Blake is fit. So can we see that starting 11 that I put together? This is my starting 11, by the way.
For the opening game against Mexico. The producers will put it up in just a short while.
Yeah.
But Mariah just referenced the fact that the Jamaicans have lost all 6 games that they've played in Copa America prior to now. And here's your predicted lineup for the opening game.
Yeah, so I picked the 3 at the back formation because we've seen that Jamaica, when they play against possession-heavy teams, that they tend to go for this more solid 3 at the back system. I think so. That's what we're going to see. Jamali waiting goal because Andre Blake won't be available, and then you would have Latibodere, Pinnock, and Bernard. I think those are 3 very solid centre backs. Since Latibodere has dropped back into the back line as we signed in the Nations League, he has been extremely consistent, and I think he has the option to push into midfield as more of a little bit of a libero. We saw that as well in build-up, and he would allow maybe Lembi Kisa to go forward a bit more. Damian Lowe, who has been playing at centre-back mostly for Jamaica, but over the past couple of match windows, he has gone into midfield and performed admirably. So I think his ball winning and just his general long legs and understanding for the game, I think that would do well in the midfield. And then you need a ball player beside him in Casey Palmer. Lembi Kisa speaks for himself. Greg Lay as well, assuming that Amari Bell will be out. And then the front 3 without Leon Bailey also is pretty straightforward for me personally. Demari Gray has been a standout player for Jamaica since coming in. 8 goal contributions in his 11 caps. Bobby Reid has been pretty reliable as well. And Shamar Nicholson, who's one of the hottest strikers in CONCACAF now, we're speaking from football, just playing. He's been scoring goals at a pretty good rate. So that would be my lineup. I know there are a couple players missing, but I guess we can get into that soon.
Well, Mikel Antonio is the first one that comes to mind. But you did on one recent show when you were assessing the Reggae Boyz performance, paint a pretty dim picture on Antonio's output for the Jamaicans so far.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I painted the picture. The picture was already there, and then I just took you guys to visit the gallery. But, producer, director, give me a second. I would like to clear up something, just give a bit of clarity. So last week, I offered some criticism of Mikel Antonio on the show. I was called a couple of things. I was called biased. I was called xenophobic. I was even told that I should cut my hair. That's definitely not going to happen. But people said all of those things because I said that Mikel Antonio should not be starting for Jamaica. First of all, I would like to address that I've never said that I have an issue with foreign-born players in the Jamaica national setup. When you speak about players like Demari Gray, Ethan Pinnock, Detsa Lembi Kisa, even Latibodere that I mentioned, they've all performed really well. Even Antonio, I still think he should be in the squad. Secondly, people were saying that I'm just rooting for the homegrown players, the Jamaica Premier League players. I didn't say that it should be 26 Jamaica Premier League players in the squad, even though there are Jamaica Premier League players that can add quality to the team. We see that there are 4 Jamaica Premier League players in the squad. But when I said homegrown players, I was referring to players who spent their formative years playing football in Jamaica. Andre Blake did that, Damian Lowe did that, and Shamar Nicholson is also an example of that. So all I was really alluding to was the fact that I think that Mikel Antonio at this current point is not fit or is not good enough or performing well enough to be one of the attacking options for Jamaica. I know Lance, Mariah, I love numbers, you guys know that. And there's one thing that I know for sure. Men may lie, women may lie, but numbers certainly do not. So let's get into some numbers, because I offered up one stat that Mikel Antonio had not scored for Jamaica since 2022. But let's first look at him in his tenure playing for Jamaica against the rest of the attackers who have played for Jamaica in that time. Let's get that graphic, please. So first up, here are the select attackers. I've put in Leon Bailey. He's not in the squad, but he has played a lot of minutes with Antonio. Bobby De Cordova-Reid, Mikel Antonio, Damari Gray, and Shamar Nicholson. These are the Reggae Boyz attackers' minutes per goal contribution while playing for Jamaica national team. Now, a goal contribution is a goal assist, and I also included penalties one just to be a little bit more fair. As you can see, Leon Bailey is there at 215 minutes per goal contribution. Bobby De Cordova-Reid, 266 minutes. That has been hampered a bit by him playing in midfield quite a bit. So if you were to look at this graph at Shamar Nicholson, a goal contribution every 110 minutes for Jamaica, that's the lowest there, even lower than Damari Gray. Mikel Antonio would be the lowest, seeing that he has played in the attack the most. I also prepared another graphic if we want to go even more in depth with it. We could compare Mikel Antonio and Shamar Nicholson as strikers and how they've been performing over their last 5 games. Goals, Shamar Nicholson really blows him out of the water. 6 goals in his last 5 games to Mikel Antonio's none. Shots, Mikel Antonio has taken 6 shots. Shamar Nicholson has doubled that. Shots on target. And I mentioned shots because it is a key ability of a striker to find space and manipulate space to get shots off. So Antonio has only had 2 shots on target in his last 5 games. Nicholson, 11. Key passes. Maybe you're saying Antonio isn't scoring. Maybe he's doing other things. Maybe he's creating. No, he isn't. He isn't creating much at all. Pass accuracy, he's shading Shamar Nicholson. But when you go on to now, I saw someone say that Mikel Antonio is playing more of a link man role for Jamaica. I would assume that means that he would be able to hold the ball up well and, you know, bring his teammates into possession. No, because he's
But
been
he
losing.
played like that initially, though.
Yeah, that's
when
how
he
he
just
started
entered
out.
the team, I thought he did a lot more of that than he has done more recently.
Well, you see, Sir Lance, there's this lovely thing that I like to speak about is watching football with your eyes. So often we fantasize on moments as opposed to really looking into it. Over Mikel Antonio's tenure for the Reggae Boyz, he's lost the ball over 15.2 times per game every single time he's played for Jamaica. That is not good for any hold-up or really reliant strike. And the last stat that I would like to bring up, Sir Lance, this is one for the historians like you. Did you know that only the late, great Luton Shelton, Marlon King, Dean Burton, and Theodore Whitmore have scored more World Cup qualifying goals for Jamaica than Shamar Nicholson? And all those other 4 players, you'd consider them Jamaican greats of football, right?
Yeah, they're in the history books, yeah.
So now, Sir Lance, I have one more question for you. If it was Shamar Nicholson who was performing like Mikel Antonio has been for Jamaica over the last over a year, would Jamaicans be giving him the same grace that they're giving Antonio because of his club exploits?
I would think not. But it is understandable why Mikel Antonio is being so highly projected in the team because of the level that he plays at. So I think it is understandable that he will be given
a lot more respect and time.
I mean, I hear the points that you're making, but because he plays in the English Premier League for a top 10 club as well, he is playing at a level that is significantly higher than most of his teammates. So a coach would have to take something like that into consideration.
I know Sir Lance asked that question on purpose, and I'm really glad that you made that point.
Yes.
Because now that Leon Bailey is out of the squad, we've seen many people say, good riddance, we didn't need him anyway, because they give Antonio the grace that he's playing at such a high level, right? Why don't people give Leon Bailey that same grace when he's now playing for
But you don't agree with those
team?
comments, so...
Everything that I'm saying is not for you, it's not for Mariah, it's for our viewers at home, the lovely viewers, because they're the ones who have been giving me slack for saying that Antonio should not be amongst the starting options in attack for Jamaica.
But do you understand where they're coming from? As in, you know, judging him from the fact that, as Lance just outlined, he plays for, of course, a top 10 EPL club. So they give him a bit more grace as opposed to another player. Do you get that?
No. Reason being is that the reason why they give them more grace is because Jamaican people are of the assumption that because you play overseas or you were brought up overseas, you're automatically a better footballer, you're a better fit for a national program as opposed to someone who is homegrown. And I reject that train of thought completely. There's no conceivable way that given what I've seen for Shamar Nicholson's Jamaican career and Mikel Antonio's Jamaican career, that I would start Mikel Antonio over Shamar Nicholson. Now, with that being said, I have to say that I still want Antonio in the squad. Just off of the bench, give Shamar Nicholson some relief. He gets the occasional goal as well. But to be a linchpin, a star, I don't think so.
Well, we want to move on from there, though. But you would concede, though, that Antonio's form, even for West Ham, has declined in the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of the points that you're making would really be focused on his current form, both for West Ham and Jamaica, and not necessarily his ability, because we've seen him play better before than he is now.
Yeah, but he's getting older, so it's a natural decline as opposed to just him losing form.
All right. So you think that Hal Grimson will agree with you and not start him against Mexico?
I hope so.
All right. Quickly, we referenced the fact that the Jamaicans have never won a Copa America. The 2015 appearance was their first. They lost to Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina, all by 1-goal margins. And then in the 2016 Copa, they lost to Venezuela, Mexico, and Uruguay. So they've never won. Based on the quality of this squad and the group that they're in, do you think there is an opportunity for them to change that statistic?
To get a win, yes, I think so.
Or at least avoid defeat, because they've never avoided defeat in a match,
Yeah, I think they have the quality to do that. I think they have the level of player. And Jamaica has shown in the past, in the recent history, that when it comes down to defending a bit deeper, playing on the counter-attack, that they can provide a lot of attacking threat from that mode of playing. So I do think that they have what it takes, especially I think against Mexico and Venezuela. Against Ecuador, that's going to be a very, very, very tough game. But when we get closer to that game, I'll give more insight on that.
I heard the coaching staff speak glowingly about the goalkeeping options that they have a cadre of goalkeepers list that is very impressive, and they feel solid about it. With Andre Blake out injured, and the two matches that we had seen against the Dominican Republic and Dominica in World Cup qualifying, Waite was in goal. How impressed were you with him?
In the first game, he didn't have much to do. He didn't have much to do in either game, but he had a couple of shaky moments in the second game. For example, the first goal that they conceded, he was a bit indecisive off of his line, and I think that's what caused that goal to occur. And he had a moment like that early in the game, but went unpunished. But I think generally he's a pretty decent keeper, and he's calm enough and experienced enough as well to stay behind that back line and hopefully pull off some really crucial saves for us.
Yeah, what about Shaquan Davis? He was present at the team reveal. I also got the opportunity to speak to the goalkeeping coach that has been assigned. He was so excited to tell me about the work that has been going into goalkeeping and all the different things they've been working on. But Shaquan, a quick word on him, because we've seen him in the JPL. I had also the opportunity to interview him one-on-one. What do you think about him repping for the national team?
Yeah, I'm very excited for him that he got into the squad. I think Shaquan Davis is a really good goalkeeper, especially for the JPL level. I think that he's pretty good with his feet, a good shot stopper, commanding in his box as well. So I think that's a good inclusion as one of the 4 Jamaica Premier League players. And hopefully, well, it's going to be tough as a goalkeeper because you don't get rotated as much, but there is a possibility that he can maybe win over a starting berth. So let's see what Coach Hal Grimson and his coaching staff thinks.
The midfield has been a problem for a lot of the Jamaican fans looking on to the national team playing for a long time, probably more than a decade. The midfield roster that has been picked here, how satisfied are you that they can match up to the opposition that they'll face in Copa America, and that the coach has the tools with his midfielders to get the job done?
That was a sticky area for me personally. Jamaica aren't blessed with a deep talent pool in terms of midfield, hence why Damian Lowe has been playing there for quite some time now. I think the midfield, it's going to have to be a combative one, but you're going to need a mix of passing as well. Jamaica, again, aren't blessed with many great natural passes of the ball in the talent pool. So I think it's going to be difficult to match up to their opposition midfields. When you speak about the teams we're in groups with, when you speak about Alvarez playing for Mexico, and Moises Caicedo, Kendry Paez, maybe even Sarmiento dropping in for Ecuador, it's going to be tough to match up maybe man for man and try and outplay them. But I think you have to have a certain level of steel in that Jamaican midfield. But in terms of just straight up ball playing, passing, it's going to be tough to replicate what other teams do against us.
Yeah. Malish, as always, it's good chatting. We will have you on again very soon, so you can go and, of course, come up with all your different graphs and your different stats, because the first match will be in June, and we're looking forward to see how the Reggae Boys fare. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, Leger Williams there, of course. Be sure to comment on the YouTube videos and let us know what you thought about his analysis today. Now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, Craig Butler is in the studio with us, and of course, he will be clearing up a couple of things for us. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us.